welcome to another 90-second beer review Instagram Live happy hour. We're going to have Dustyn Brewer from Kings Bluff Brewery in Clarksville, Tennessee, joining us in just a minute. As usual, we'll try a couple of their beers, talk a little bit about Kings Bluff and what they've got going on, and a little bit about the town that they're based in, and just have a little fun. So we're going to get Dustyn in here and get ourselves going. Let's see if we can get this. It's been a little funky the last couple weeks trying to get the initial invite going, but we'll give Dustyn a minute and see if we can get it. Oh, there we go.
Hey!
How's it going?
Well, sorry about the terrible echo. I am currently in the bathroom at Bridgestone Arena in the suite. So, cheers.
Cheers. All right. I gotta grab myself a beer then.
Yeah, please.
So how's the SEC tournament going?
Horrible. Well, I'm an Arkansas fan, born and raised in a little town called Van Buren in a dry county. Mm-hmm. So the Hogs are either not playing yet or already playing. So I'm watching Georgia and Mizzou essentially learn how to do a passing game. So that's about it.
Good. Well, I'm gonna pour this Irish Red.
Huh.
So while I'm doing,
please do.
Huh?
I said, please do.
Yeah. So I guess to get us started, why don't you just kind of quickly give us like kind of an overview on Kings Bluff and on yourself, and just kind of where this beer comes from.
Happy to. Okay, so Kings Bluff Brewery, we are officially 2 years old. So we've moved on to solid foods. We're forming full sentences at this point. No, we're actually doing some pretty cool shit. Can I curse? Is that okay? Are we going to be saying curse words?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're free flowing here.
Awesome. Okay, so we formed the brewery a couple years ago in Clarksville, Tennessee. We're just right downtown, next to Austin P. So in the unboxing video, you said that correctly. Oh, cheers! Cilantro.
Cheers.
The Ryan's Irish Red that you're drinking, I'll give that backstory first. So, my old boss at Mid-South Shooter Supply, where I did like all their online marketing stuff, he was an avid homebrewer. And he's actually kind of the guy that got me into homebrewing. That was 9 years ago at this point.
All right.
So, when I left the company, the fellow that I worked for, his name was Michael Ryan, and very talented artist, and he wanted to do the pub sign that was going to hang outside of the brewery. And of course, he wouldn't accept any money for it. So I told him, why don't you come in and we'll brew a beer together on the big equipment. And he's Irish, his family's Irish. He lives in a town called Erin, Tennessee, which is exceedingly Irish. And that's what we put together, was the Ryan's Irish Red. And I gotta be honest with you, I judge breweries by their red.
Okay.
If you can make a good red, something simple, straightforward, that little bit of that caramely sweetness. Oh, Keith Lutton, love me some KUB. We love you too, Keith. That's pretty dope. Anyway, so we put this red together. We brew it a couple times a year. It's kind of become a staple for us. Mm-hmm. And I'll do a Pepsi challenge with that Irish Red against us. So I'm pretty pleased with it.
Well, and it fits perfectly for 90-second beer review. So my partner in 90-second beer review is Ryan Cummings. He is Irish.
Perfect.
So, and he has red hair. So
he's got a trifecta.
This might be a title beer. The funny part is, like, if you're saying like judging a beer on their red ale, I don't even know how many breweries actually keep one on a tap list anymore. I mean,
not many anymore. And a lot of those simpler styles, I feel like they're kind of going by the wayside. Yeah. There's just so much beer to make out there right now, between your sours and slushies and gozas and pastry stouts or whatever, that I think it's refreshing to go back to something that is classic and a staple, what should be a staple for most, I think, personally.
I mean, and I think I honestly think that's, in a way, that's where we're going, because I feel like more and more breweries, even the hype breweries, are starting to brew classic styles again.
I think so. I think it's a cred thing. I think You can make all the cool, crazy stuff. We make a lot of weird stuff. Like we just finished up our third iteration of the Thick Bitch Milkshake IPA. This one with peaches, so it's the peach emoji Thick Bitch. Like, that's cool. I mean, that's great. But can you still brew that Pilsner? Can you still make that, like, dry stout?
Well, and can you drink 4 of them in a sitting, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, no kidding. I mean, you can drink 4 of them, you just probably shouldn't go anywhere. Oh, hey, Sam. Dan Sam 91. So, Sam is one of our lead bartenders. She's been with us since day one. She is
nice.
Awesome.
Welcome, Sam.
Absolutely awesome. So, yeah, anyway, I keep cutting you off. What do you think of the beer?
I love it. I mean, again, to your point, like, there are not that many people making red ales these days. But to have that malty backbone and still have kind of that moderate hop bitterness come through to kind of keep everything kind of balanced. I mean, these are the kind of beers that during a kind of a cold weather day, like, I'll gravitate to something like this versus like the really massive, 14% stout.
Oh, for sure.
But I'll go for something like this or go for like a dark lager. That's kind of my go-to.
Yeah, short experience, we actually got to make one, and we got to lager it in a local cave called Dunbar Cave.
Really?
And I gotta tell you, that was one of the smoothest beers I have ever made. Like, not to be braggadocious, but it was pretty awesome.
So you actually took one of your tanks and brought it to this cave, and
we had to be careful. We didn't want to have too much of an environmental impact on the site itself. So we just did a 5-gallon test batch.
Okay.
We dropped that in the cave down to the dark zone. We kept it 56 degrees for 2 months, from August to October. We pulled it out and then did a free tasting for anybody that wanted to try it. That was brave enough to try it. The president of the Tennessee State Parks actually got to try some. And he's a big beer, just like the rest of us. So we just recreated that environment in one of our tanks. But it's the same recipe, the same story, and then $1 from every pint sold went back to Dunbar Cave.
Yeah.
So we try to do as much altruism as possible, where we put money back in the community and raise awareness and stuff like that.
That's awesome, and especially I'm guessing Clarksville is a bit of a smaller town. I mean, I know it's college town, but
it is. Well, it's college/military. We've got the 101st Screaming Eagles right up the road, and we've got Austin P. So for a town to not really have its own identity is why we chose the name Kings Bluff Brewery, which Kings Bluff is a rock climbing base there in Clarksville. I'm big into the outdoors. I mean, whether I look like it or not. Usually I have a much bigger beard that kind of hides all this, but it got shaved off for charity. So, we make sacrifices.
That's a good reason to do it.
Sure. We wanted to do something that was intrinsic to Clarksville itself and didn't really lean on one area or the other.
Sure. And so I guess being a craft brewery in a college town, what is that? How does that affect how you guys think about running the business and brewing the beer? Because I remember my college days, and occasionally we'd feel fancy and we'd grab something craft when we could get it.
It's rare,
but it's rare.
It's rare. We have a lot of faculty, a lot of staff. We have a lot of the downtown professionals, folks like that. Honestly, if I was the college kid, I'm going to take that $6 and go buy 3 Natty Lights instead of 1 Austin Pilsner. And I totally get that. Like, that's what they should be doing, because that's your, that's where you are right now in your life. So I don't begrudge them for that. So for us, it doesn't impact our demographics, but we're there and making that community impact and those ties back into Austin P. We're there for them whenever they're ready for us.
That's awesome. So I guess, you've been around for 2 years now, and you were talking, you guys have done some kind of crazy, weird things and brewing more traditional kind of older school beers like this. Like, what's kind of your general philosophy on brewing? Do you have certain styles that you kind of always gravitate towards, or is it really kind of what gets you at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. What we kind of live and die by is that Latin motto of that Fortis Fortuna Adulat, right? So fortune favors the bold. Go out there, do something, try it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You have to throw some beer away, buy some more ingredients, or it's not going to appeal to everybody. Okay, cool. So what did you learn from that, and what can you do better? We use live cultured yeast. We ranch our own. We go grain to glass. We don't cut corners.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a beer that we make that I don't stand behind. For me personally, it's just whatever I feel like at the time, whatever's in season. I like to cook. I like to taste things. So my winter palate is definitely different than my summer palate.
Absolutely.
But if I'm in the mood for a stout and it's 90 degrees outside, I'm going to drink stout. But yeah, we don't shy away from making anything. We've got I think we're the only brewery in town that keeps like 4 or 5 IPAs on tap at any given time. Granted, we've got red IPAs, black IPAs, any IPAs, milkshake IPAs, and then just some good standards. But we don't expect, especially Clarksville, because it's so new to the brewing community, to be in line with that. We're seeing people adopt that and kind of move on with it.
Sure.
So yeah, we don't shy away from much. Sours are about the only thing that we don't deal with much because we're small and bacteria scares the shit out of me. And I don't want to be Clarksville's first sour-only brewery. So what's kind of cool, though, is our friends at Tailgate, Wes and those guys are my mentors. So we're working on a collaboration where we'll do a sour with them on their equipment and then have it at both places. So that's a big honor and it's a big deal for us.
That's awesome. So how far away is that, roughly?
It's about 40 minutes. I'm actually in Nashville right now at Bridgestone Arena. So it's a good, solid 40-minute drive down south.
That's not bad.
No, not bad at all. Just close enough to get in trouble.
Yeah. I generally make it to Nashville once or twice a year. Obviously, this year was not one of those. But
no.
I always enjoy getting a couple days in town and getting to check out the food and beer scene.
For sure. There's a lot to be offered here. And we wanted to bring that to Clarksville because that's not really prevalent. Clarksville's been the land of Chili's and Olive Garden for the longest time. So for them to have local proprietors kind of putting sticking their necks out and doing something for the community is kind of cool. Yeah. And it's a new movement. We're seeing a lot of really cool growth, and it's a neat progressive environment to be in.
That's awesome. And are you the only brewery in Clarksville right now?
Oh, no. There's 7 of us, actually.
Welcome to craft beer in North America in 2021.
You know what, though? I love it. I think the more the merrier, the more diversity that we can bring in with our brewing. Everybody's got a different style, a different shtick. Mm-hmm. For us, it's much more like that West Coast, Portland kind of feel, Asheville, North Carolina. Like, it's focused on beer. We don't make food. We bring in food trucks.
Okay.
It's super diverse, incredibly inclusive. You've got the brewery restaurants. You've got the breweries that are focused on the military, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. It's neat. It's neat to see it develop and to be a part of it, too.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like, for me, I feel like the thing that I see more and more these days is like there are very few breweries that are really just focused on barrelage and being, the next Sam Adams, the next, Sierra Nevada. Like,
right.
People seem to be geared more towards the neighborhood brew pub and, maybe getting some local distribution, maybe regional if they really want to go there. But, you can have 7 kind of local breweries that are operating in a relatively small area, as long as one of them isn't trying to brew 25,000 barrels and flood the market.
Right. Well, that's just it too. I mean, we're relatively small. It's a 5-barrel brew house. We've got 5 fermenters and a couple brights, and we do local distribution. We're actually talking with a small boutique distributor right now, and we'll be their first beer offering. But that'll get us into places like Nashville, where we can actually start. It's kind of neat. We actually get bumped in with Nashville breweries quite a bit, and Feather and Nightcap, I'll take that all day. To me, that's big bragging rights. So I can't complain too much. We've seen a lot of really cool gains in 2 years.
That's awesome. So from I guess with a 5-barrel brew house, 5 farms, I mean, what are you guys doing in terms of barrelage in a year right now?
It varies. With COVID, it's kind of hard to get a tack on things. True. And our first year was our first year open. So what we can see as far as percentage increase, we're seeing about a 60% increase year over year. Wow. As far as what we're able to keep up with. Yeah. I think as time moves on with the development of the city, we're already looking at secondary space, so that we can supply for the demand. Mm-hmm. We're seeing good demand, and honestly, I'll take it.
Oh yeah. You think like a second like production facility, or you're going like second tap room and kind of the whole
Probably all the above. I honestly think if we're going to move into a secondary facility, we might as well go ahead and do another tap room, and we'll probably keep our same model, bringing in food trucks. Maybe have a residency with a food truck, something like that. We don't want to muddy the waters too much with who and what we are, so we let the professionals do what the professionals do.
I mean, I feel like I've been seeing more of that too, like breweries having kind of like that one resident food truck, or a food truck that actually there's a kitchen in the brewery, but it's run by X chef that has a food truck, and this is like their one location. Which I mean, I would imagine, like from your standpoint, like you're a brewer, you're not a restaurateur, like not having to deal with running a restaurant.
I mean, obviously, I like to eat. I mean, look, this doesn't come about from drinking bad beer, eating bad food.
There are calories in these things, you know.
It's a little bit of some gluten. There's some gluten in it. It's not totally. We do have one beer. It's a Broom Squad IPA. That's more like a brewed IPA. It's lower in carbs and yeah. It fits the bill. Whenever I decide to go back on keto, it's fine.
So what's the malt bill look like on this?
It's a lot of Golden Promise. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite malts to work with. That's also in our Liberty Park. It's kind of the backbone of it. Mm-hmm. And a little bit of Caram, and some 45, some red, and then some classic hops. Honestly, that's kind of where my heart lives in some of those old school hop varietals. And then an Irish ale yeast that we've been spinning up for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a little bit of that kind of caramel, but it's not sweet. It's
right.
It just gives it a little bit of a base, and you definitely get a lot of that like noble hop character to it, with a little bit of like that kind of herbal hop bitterness towards the end that kind of like rounds up. Like to me, like red ales, like when they're like well balanced, I almost get like a little bit of like that kind of like almost like a rye element to them, even if they don't have rye in them.
Yeah, this is just making me happy. You just keep going. Talk more. Tell me more about how pretty my beer is.
Well, so so you were talking a little bit about the setup. So I guess tell me about the tap room and kind of the setup that you guys have in Clarksville, and kind of how you guys set up your space for the community.
It was a long time in the making, honestly. There's a lot of sweat equity. We put a lot of work in ourselves, built the bar, built the hip wall. Everything's right out in the open. There's nothing separating you from the brewing other than about a 4.5 foot tall hip wall. Mm-hmm. And it's all done in local tobacco barn wood. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of local stuff, a lot of found and forage stuff. When we first opened, if you want to go back in time and look at Instagram, it was pretty low rent. Like we had a big green wall and about 8 taps, and now we have 20 taps. It's been polished quite a bit. Like we've done what we can to utilize the space as much as possible. And then we've also started really cleaning up our outback area. We've got outdoor seating, a nice big patio, and we're just constantly making upgrades and improvements to it because, I mean, number one, COVID. But number two, it's nice outside, and beer tastes better outside.
Absolutely. I mean, drinking outside, I will say that there definitely is something in a brewery like yours where you can see the tanks, like having a beer and seeing that stainless and like seeing that the beer was literally created, a couple of feet from where you're sitting is to me always a cool part of the experience.
We get that question a lot, like, so where do you make your beer? And it's like, right there. You're looking at it, man. Yeah, no. You see that girl? Okay, so full disclosure, I don't get to make as much of the beer anymore as I like to. I do every once in a while, but our head brewer and now general manager, her name's Jessica. She's been with us since day one as well, and she has added such a nice, diverse palette to the beers that we're creating. And between her and Ashley and Sam, and now also Josh, I think he popped in for a second a minute ago. We're a small team, we're family oriented, and everybody has a big hand. And to see like how things are evolving and going forward, and seeing how much like now I'm out in the community doing other stuff and not as hands-on, and seeing it still blossom and grow. It's neat. It's one of the neatest things ever. So I think they're going to wind up doing a much better job than I would have if it was just under my control.
Well, I'm probably bringing in some different styles or some different flavors into that, bring some diversity
Totally.
to us.
I think that's what makes craft beer kind of cool, is that, taste is such a subjective thing to have these different palates come forward and ideas and see that evolution. To me, that's the cornerstone of craft beer. I mean, otherwise, what are we doing? We're not just going to make one light beer forever and hang our hat on that. Although apparently that works pretty well.
If it's slow enough,
Sure.
We're going back like 40 years in the American beer scene.
It has to start somewhere.
Yeah. So 20 taps, are they all Kings Bluff beers, or do you guys bring in, I think we might have lost.
Uh-oh.
Your image froze. I can still hear you.
Yeah, your image is frozen as well. You've got a spinning circle on your face. Oh, there you are. Welcome back.
There we go.
And we're back.
So 20 taps, all Kings Bluff, or do you guys bring in like
no, not at all. Yeah, so we don't make sours. So we typically bring those in from Orpheus in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a really good relationship with them. We've gotten to meet them a couple times, and honestly, they're the experts. So let the experts do what they do. Also in Tennessee, you can't make cider where you make beer. So we lean on our friends at Dustyn Cider in Nashville, actually some really good friends of ours, and they make beautiful cider. And I think that's important for any breweries to kind of round out. If you need something that's gluten-free, you need something that's not for the craft beer drinker.
Sure.
We do have 2 taps that are non-alcoholic. We have our Puppy Pilsner, which is an organic broth that we brew for dogs. And it comes right out of the tap. It's lightly carbonated. And any money that's given for that goes to a local charity called the Angel Fund that does surgeries for shelter dogs.
Oh, that's nice.
That's adorable. We also have a root beer that we make, our own recipe. And again, money that comes in from that usually goes to some children's organization that changes year to year. Outside of that, we try and keep 1 or 2 other taps for our partners like at Tailgate or at Black Abbey, just because they help us out so much with information and tips and tricks. And like I said, I pester these guys at least once a week because I damn sure don't know everything. So it's sort of a tip of the hat to them. We try and keep at least 1 of their beers on at all times.
That's awesome. And look, I think that's also a big part of the craft beer industry, right? Is just being able to reach out to your neighbor down the road and ask a question or borrow a bag of malt or whatever the case may be.
There was no oh shit moment in this world. Like going through a brew session and going, oh my god, I need a pound of Citra. Your world falls apart. You start calling everybody you know. And like, I will trade you anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Otherwise, production day is completely screwed up.
Yeah, this is no longer going to be the Liberty Park. This is now going to be like just whatever name we come up with at the time. The West Coastiest IPA.
So it's kind of a weird. That's a weird twist, I guess, in Tennessee that you can't brew beer and cider in the same facility.
It's a headache. There's a way to do it with like confirmed equipment. But for us, the fear of cross-contamination with anything gluten, like I don't want to put that out there and it be a possibility. I'd rather make sure that it's coming from a facility that only does their thing. So, and once we've got the taps for it, it builds that relationship.
Showers, right? Like it's
exactly.
You're
absolutely right.
Kind of equipment for it. You have to have the right kind of procedures in place to manage that. It's not for the faint of heart to.
No, I agree. Like I said, lactobacillus scares the crap out of me.
Does that mean you guys, if you wanted to go down, like I don't know how Tennessee laws work, but if you wanted to go down like the hard seltzer route, would you be allowed to do that, or can you only brew beers?
We can brew hard seltzer. We love gray area, and we operate in as many gray areas as possible. So it is possible. You can essentially add hop to it, like 1 hop pellet, and it's beer. So there's ways around it. I probably shouldn't be the one to try to speak intelligently on it too much, but it's done. It's done quite a bit. So yeah.
I was saying there's plenty of craft breweries out there playing around with the whole the hard seltzer thing right now and
Yeah.
playing in that gray area. So
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things that if it comes down to it, we need to ask for forgiveness, and we'll put on a nice smile and say, "Well, we didn't. We're doing the best we can."
So what are the you mentioned you're not brewing as much right now. You're out in the community. I mean, what are the things that you're kind of doing on a day-to-day basis now?
Right now, it's just keeping up those relationships with community partners, finding places to put our beer, and take over as much of Montgomery County as possible, and then setting up those things to start moving into things like Dixon, Nashville, Smyrna, maybe even parts of Kentucky. So it's just a slow, measured approach. I mean, we're going into year 3, and we're already about 2 years ahead of where I think we should be. So it's just making those. It is. It's great, but it comes with its own set of problems, which is a good problem to have. So it's just making sure that we're taking the time to really be smart about our next moves. So that's what I'm trying to do anyway.
And as things start kind of reopening, I mean, are you starting to see purchase patterns and things like that change when it comes to distribution?
Yeah, quite a bit. We're seeing more people get back into the craft beer swing of things. I know during COVID we saw a lot more domestics going around.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't want to devote the time to try to flesh out their craft beer, but Tennessee on the whole, and Clarksville itself, has been trying to move in this direction for a while.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. It's nice to see. It's great to see things getting back into the swing of things. Almost everybody at our brewery has been vaccinated at this point.
That's awesome.
So we're seeing a nice, almost like we're verging on that return to reality, and that's what we're trying to get ready for. I think more than anything is what that next leap.
Yeah. And are people actually buying kegs again? Is that really a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're seeing some more go out. We've got a couple big partners that we're having to meet some demand for. We've already increased our brewing schedule once again, so we're seeing the fruits of our labor kind of come to fruition. It's just how much more do we want to extend ourselves? And at this point, we're ready to move some more beer out in the community.
I think you're in line with a lot of people that are just ready to get beer out there and particularly start using those kegs again, because I know that in our area, the number of breweries that just have like a mountain of steel in the back of the facility right now, waiting for things to really open up again, is significant.
Yeah. We've always been focused on our tap room more than anything. Even during the shutdown, we did the speakeasy style. And I mean, you would bring it in, we would fill it up. It doesn't matter if it could be a bucket that you used to water your plants. Like as long as it's got a lid on it, we'll put beer in it.
Yeah.
So for us moving into the can game, we're kind of late to the show on that. And we're still kind of limping along. We want to keep people moving in and out of the tap room and keep our kegs. We put almost everything in kegs anyway. Okay. So for us, getting that keg utilization has been pretty ongoing.
Yeah. Kevin, we'll get you your keg.
We can do that. Yeah, come see me.
So did you guys actually buy your own canning line, or are you bringing in like a mobile canner right now?
We're doing it all through a cannular canning machine, one-off. We keep about one person a day on that thing. We got one of those label slayers. You know what? It's sweat equity, but we see very little oxidization off of it. We've got it set up to where we got CO2 blowing in cans. The labels look good, and it keeps somebody busy all the time.
That is a tremendous amount of work.
It is. It's a lot of work. But ultimately, we're paying one of our own, whereas we would be paying a canning line or somebody to come in and facilitate that. And I'd rather pay my employee a couple extra hours of work than to have that go to another business at this point. Because right now, everybody in the service industry needs those dollars.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So I just cracked another one of these. So I've got the Oats I Did It Again, New England IPA.
Yeah.
So
and we're pretty sure that beer, we're pretty sure, is solely responsible for Britney Spears and her being free from her conservatorship from her father. We did the whole hashtag Free Britney campaign. That's Jessica's beer. Almost all the beer Jessica does has a music influence to it, and most of my beer has something community involved with it. So this is her recipe. It's all end of boil, whirlpool, or steeping hops. There's nothing at the beginning of boil. It's got a lot of oats, tons of tropical flavors, pineapples, passion fruit, guava.
I'd say I get a lot of guava, a lot of passion fruit. I almost get like a little bit of like overripe peach.
Yeah, but see, that's all hops. There's no fruit in that at all.
And so, what did you guys hop this with?
A lot of Hazy. Jessica is in love with Hazy and Mosaic. Those are kind of her two go-to hops at the moment. She did a little bit of Kuo melon, but not a ton, just enough to give it some more of that pop of fruit. But the Hazy really comes through in that one.
Yeah, I mean that's a ton of guava. I get like a lot of guava, a lot of peach and passion fruit like throughout.
Yeah, that's one of our new big movers too. Clarksville likes fruit. They like sour. They like sweet. They like ciders. So a lot of our traditional beers are a little bit slower to grow, but a beer like that one, it just went nuts.
I would say that. So they are American craft beer drinkers. They want sour and sweet in the most ridiculous ways possible. And
100%. It would only be better if we had endless breadsticks with it, then we would be millionaires already. I'd already be retired.
So are you guys on that kind of that swing where you're like cranking out like a new hazy like every week, every 2 weeks, or is it a little bit more reserved than that?
It's a little more reserved. We try to keep our standards, which is the Liberty Park, which was one of our first IPAs. That's an old recipe of mine. It's Valencia oranges. It's a lot of Citra and Cascade. Our Ryan's Red, our Bun and Cream Stout, the Austin Pilsner. We try to keep those going at all times, and then we'll kind of ping pong back and forth between like my Wicked Red, which is a rye red IPA, or Jessica's Thick Fish that she'll make, or our Yana Cold Brew Stout, and then she'll make a 100% that batch, which is like 30 chocolate chip cookies in a stout recipe. So we try to, every one crazy out there thing we do, we try to do one like really hard-hitting standard.
I mean, I think that does wonders, again, for a tap list. Like, the thing that drives me nuts when I'll go into a tap room sometimes is, like, it's 70% hazy IPAs and fruited sours. And, like, those are cool if you want to do, like, a flight or if you don't want to have, like, one or two. But, like, if you just wanted, like, a Pilsner or an Amber Ale or a Dark Lager or something simple, clean, easy to drink, there's like one option on the menu, maybe two out of 20 taps.
It's all balanced. I think your beer should be balanced, your tap should be balanced, your environment should be balanced. Still thinking one way or the other, I think just excludes people either by palate or whatever camp they're setting in. So we try to keep things as balanced as possible.
Absolutely. So when we were talking beforehand, you were mentioning, I mean, you guys are doing obviously a lot in the community and doing as many like charitable things as you guys, can do to be a positive impact. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that and some of the things that you guys are trying to do in Clarksville.
Sure. Let's talk about how I lost my fabulous beard.
Yeah. Let's go. I did see some social media posts with a wildly colored, like tie-dye looking beard. So
all that finally went away today. We reached the 2-week mark. So one of our own, his name's Dylan Lawrence. He's 16 years old. His mom and dad have been big supporters of us since day one. He was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. And so we're trying to, we raised a nice little chunk of money for their family so that he could live out his last 8 months the best that he could.
Yeah.
So we did a beard auction. And everybody was throwing their money in the monkey tail, which is fine, I guess. It wasn't going to butcher my beard too badly. And then my asshole sister-in-law, whom I love, put in a pile of money for it to be the stylist's choice. And she chose to make me look like I got slapped in the face by a king cake. And it was all purple and green and pink. And It had like this weird net halo beard. It was awful. My wife would walk by me and just laugh. You could hear her the other. It's like, you're a good man. You're real ugly. But again, we were able to raise a bunch of money. The studio that the beard design and everything, they matched it dollar for dollar. So it was definitely worth it. And getting to actually be able to do something like that and have an impact, whereas none of us would be able to have that much of an impact otherwise, it's an honor. Like, it really is an honor to be able to reach out and actually do something of value with our community that we built. Like, we know the beer's good, right? Beer's great. Having this group of people like rally around us and believe in what we're doing and contribute to that, that's something.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. And to me, like, you know, I think for Ryan, that's something that we've always really, you know, loved about the craft beer industry, is that so many breweries, there are charitable and social elements to kind of the core principles of the business, right? Like,
Sure.
You know, most people don't get into running a craft brewery for the money. You know, it's not. There aren't.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Aw. No. I'm glad that my wife is a tenure track professor. So this is definitely an expensive hobby.
So, you know, I guess at this point, tell people where they can find Kings Bluff beer, where they can get to know more about Kings Bluff, and anything that people should be keeping an eye for coming up in the next couple months.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely check out our socials at Kings Bluff Brew on Instagram. We're always doing something silly or fun. You can find us at our physical location at 128 University Avenue in Clarksville. We are right by Austin Peay's campus, within walking distance of everything. I actually live next door to the brewery, so feel free to throw a rock at my window when you walk by. Again, we've got 20 taps. There's something for everybody. It's an inclusive environment. It's family-friendly, dog-friendly. So, you know, there's something for everybody. And on the horizon next for us, I mean, you're going to see us in a few more restaurants around town, Middle Tennessee. We've got some big plans. We've got the right people in place to make those plans happen.
That's awesome. And 40 minutes from Nashville. So for all those people rolling through, take a nice little drive.
Definitely. You're in the Nashville area, come a little bit north. I'll have a pint waiting for you.
Love it. Well, Dustyn, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight. Thank you for this beer.
Well, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. I always love talking about myself and how great we are.
And I hope at some point I can come out and actually visit the brewery in person.
Yeah, sounds great. I'll be waiting for you.
All right, enjoy the tournament. Have a good night.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Cheers.